Umstead State Park is located in the heart of the Triangle region, right next to Raleigh-Durham Airport. It is an oasis in the metropolis called the Triangle area. It is right next to the airport, so you hear frequent airplane noise, but if you can put up with that, it is actually quite nice. You get to do a lot of different activities here. You have hiking, you have horseback riding, you have mountain biking, you have a bit of camping, certainly some fishing. There's a couple of lakes in the park, and you certainly have picnicking. It is a state park and not a state recreation area, so if you really want to do picnic on the shelter and stuff like that, you should go to one of the nearby state recreation areas like Jordan Lake or Falls Lake. But being in the middle of the Triangle, especially on weekends, it can get quite crowded. There are two main entrances to Umstead State Park, one on one side of the airport and one on the other side of the airport. The entrance right off of I-40 is called the Reedy Creek entrance. It's got a fairly small parking lot and it gets very crowded. So if you come a little bit later in the morning, all the way through mid-afternoon, the parking lot can be completely full. There are basically two trails off of the Reedy Creek entrance. One is the Loblolly Pine Trail. The other trail here at the Reedy Creek entrance is the Company Mill Loop Trail. The Company Mill Loop is a 5.8 mile loop that goes from the parking lot down towards the creek and crosses a steel bridge. And once you get to the other side of the bridge, then the loop starts. You can go clockwise or counterclockwise. And if you go counterclockwise, you will go by the river and you see an exhibit for a millstone that is called the Company Mill that used to be here. And you can see the little inscription here. The Company Mill. This millstone was an integral part of the Company Mill built by the Page family in the early 1800s. The Company Mill was an economic and social center of this era during the 19th century. The remains of the Company Mill Dam just upstream are lovely reminders of the park's history. After the millstone, the path goes up and down some hills, nothing severe, and then it crosses the Reedy Creek bike and bridle path. Now from here, you can make a left turn and do a little shortcut to the other side of the loop, or you can continue to go forward, and then you go up near the Sycamore Trail. You don't quite cross it, but you get very close to it. And then up on the other side, when it loops back, the rest of the path is pretty flat until you get back to the junction. The entire trail is almost all in the shade, and it is very pleasant, but it is actually very, very rooty in spots, especially the first half if you go counterclockwise. And the first half is quite rooty, but the back half is actually pretty flat, pretty sandy in spots. And then eventually it comes back to the creek and then reaches a junction, and you go back to the parking lot. The Company Loop Trail, it says it's 5.8 miles, but the trail is really a segment from the parking lot across the steel bridge before it goes into a loop. Now the loop on the other side of the steel bridge is 5.8 miles, but it's a half a mile to the steel bridge and half a mile back from the steel bridge. So if you're starting off from the parking lot, the Company Mill Loop Trail is actually 6.8 miles. So just keep that in mind as you plan your hike. The trail is rated moderate, and for the distance and the elevation gain, it's probably about right. Parts of the Company Mill Loop can be muddy, and especially after some rain. So we came here on a beautiful day about 4 or 5 days since it rained. So it's been completely dry, but there have been reports where if you come in shortly after a rainstorm, some of the trail can be muddy. So just keep that in mind. The Loblolly Pine Trail is an out and back trail. It's about 3 miles, a little under 3 miles out, and about 3 miles back. So it is not a very short trail, it's rated moderate. And it is an outback, so when you want to hike this trail, consider that it round trip all the way to the end. It's about 6 miles. South Branch Trail, a walk in the woods with lots of pine straws and lots of pine trees, of course. it's very typical of North Carolina parks because it's just a lot of tall trees and you walk in the woods. And it's nothing spectacular to look at, but still very nice and peaceful. Well, one of the features of Umstead State Park is the pleasure of having jet noise very close by. Can you call that a feature, or is that a detriment? Regardless, Umstead State Park is literally right next to Raleigh-Durham International Airport. Therefore, it gets all of the noise from the airport, not to mention the traffic noise from I-40, which is also nearby. And so if you like jet noise, it's fine. But if you want peace and quiet, not so much. We are on our way to visit all the national parks in the United States. Follow along by hitting the subscribe button below. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new video is released. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and please share it with everybody that you know.